Welcome to Daggercast. I have a standing desk now. So I like doing the elevator bit quite a bit on my Zooms. Hi, it's Lindsay Charles, your host, person who likes to talk about horror films. It's me, and hello. Thank you so much for listening, hearing, looking, whatever you're doing. We very much appreciate you. If you want to email me, please email me at daggercastinfo@gmail.com. Find us on all the socials. We are there. Sorry it's been a bit of a break, but our production manager Jared was very busy doing life, doing summer, doing good fun. And I was busy mourning my cat. My dear, sweet, beautiful family cat Rascal died recently. It's been a little over a month, and it's been really, really hard. Harder than I thought it was going to be perfectly honest. I miss her. I miss seeing her. I miss now I feel like I just see her out the corner of my eye all the time. So, I also turned 40, so I had a lot of that to deal with. Actually very much liking 40. It's been a good ride. I bleached my eyebrows because when you turn 40, like you just care even less about what people think. And you want to do things that you're like, hey, I've never bleached my eyebrows before. Let's do that. So they're growing back, but or the black is coming back in, but yeah, that's that's what I've been up to. I've also watched a lot of movies, so I kind of wanted to just briefly go over a couple movies that I have recently seen that I really enjoyed. Um, I have to say, I thought I would enjoy Long Legs a little bit more than I did. Didn't really, I don't know, just kind of lackluster for me. The thing that I've been noticing lately, though, is that they a lot of he's been Oz Perkins, son of Anthony Perkins, has been getting a little bit of flack about the way that Nicolas Cage depict. Sorry, if you're hearing chimes, it's because I actually have a day job that I'm ignoring to do this intro. Um, People are just saying that the way that Nicolas Cage is dressed in Long Legs implies that he is trying to like be trans. I did not pick that up. And if you listened to the soundtrack of the movie, you would realize that that guy really just was into glam rock. There was so much T-Rex on that soundtrack. It did my heart so good. I love T-Rex with all of my heart. T-Rex actually was born yesterday. His birthday was yesterday, September 30th. I am filming this on the 1st of October. We are in spooky season. I'm very excited about it. But yeah, I honestly think that I think Neon went a little too hard on the front end advertising. They really worked us up into a damn code-breaking frenzy, and then we just saw the movie. And I thought the movie was okay. It weren't no Hereditary, which I feel like is kind of my like, it's the A24 peak. It's what everybody talks about, and everything after that I feel like has just been a little bit less scary, and I'm kind of sad about it. But whatever. Let's neither here nor there. I also really and I hope to talk to someone about this fully. But I saw the TV Glow with my husband, and we were messes. We were fully destroyed after that movie. I know the director is really like kind of trying to say something about like just living in a not genuine life, not living your truth. Um, and how living in a world where people expect certain things of you that you don't expect and that you don't want, i.e., living in a body that you don't feel should be yours, like trans people, like queer people, people who are gender, that are just born in a body that they don't understand. Um, it was definitely a scary tale about living that life and living it in a cloistered like alternate universe, yeah, it can feel a little bit like someone has imprisoned you into a simulation that you have no control over, and the only way to get through that is to like, I don't know, do something drastic like bury yourself. um I feel like it not only spoke, I mean, I'm a cisgendered lady, and I mean, I don't know. I'm It's so I feel sometimes I feel very fluid, sometimes I feel very woman. It's whatever. But I definitely felt it more in a like I live in a house with a husband and a kid, and there are a lot of things that are expected of me by my family, by society, by lots of things. And so I felt it in a way of like, oh my God, like to live a life where I wasn't being true to myself and doing what I enjoy and just doing what capitalism and what society wants me to do, like that would suck and be very bad and it would feel a little bit like a prison. Um so yeah, I really liked that movie. I felt like it spoke to a lot of people. I think a lot of people like live their lives in a simulation that they don't care to question at all. And that fucking scares me. That scares me a lot. So I really loved that movie. And then Alien Romulus, I wanted to also mention. I really, really liked this movie. I thought that I hope I'm saying his name right. Fede Alvarez. He is from Uruguay, and he was talking a little bit about like how he was kind of trying to make Alien Romulus like a movie about like people living in like a third world um wanting something better for themselves. So you see the main characters are all living in this like terrible mining planet. So to kind of almost depict like a coal mining town. But of course, you know, Wayland Yutani would be finding planets full of coal, putting a bunch of people on them, and then it basically enslaving them to live a life of like potential death in a mine, and that includes them and all of their family. And so you can tell that these young people feel like there is no future for them that isn't dying in a mine, and they want something better. The one thing that really freaked me out was the idea that there are planets that aren't Wayland Yutani planets, and that was like, wait a minute, we're just seeing like the worst, the worst company. We're seeing the worst companies' planets and the worst companies' like explorations, but maybe there's like a good company that's actually like doing a good job and not basically being like, "Ooh, we found this alien. Let's study it." Like that's crazy to me. It's really cool to kind of see kind of a zooming out of this world, and I feel like we're going to get a little bit more of that in the TV show that they have planned for Alien. I think it's called like Alien Earth or something. But yeah, I'm really excited for that. I thought that uh Alien Romulus was really cool because it was like, no, the enemy isn't just alien. The enemy is always it's always been us. And it's always been Wayland Yutani and capitalism and using people as slavery. So that was really an interesting twist. Also, I highly recommend uh going to see IMAX movies like in the middle of the day on a Monday, completely high out of your mind. To me, it's the better situation. I saw Oppenheimer with a shit ton of people, and it didn't have as cool a time, honestly. And I think I was high too. But whatever. Anyway, let's just pretend you didn't hear any of that. Also, just recently saw a movie that just got on Shudder. It was a Shudder movie, but they waited a while to put it on Shudder. A Shudder, like as a Shudder subscriber, I was kind of perturbed that I'm like, I want the movie now though. But the movie is Oddity. It was done by, and I clicked, I have all these windows open. Damian McCarthy, he did Caveat, which scared the shit out of me. And this one will do exactly the same. It's very terrifying. Again, he's using dolls and props and toys to freak out. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was very inventive and interesting, but also very short. So I think a lot of people were like, it was too short, but I thought it was just fine. I mean, bring back the hour 20-minute movie, please. I would love that. But anyway, ooh, and I'm going to see The Substance tonight. So I'm very excited. Everyone that I know has gone to see it twice, basically. So I'm really pumped. I'm really excited that, again, someone as big as Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley are doing horror. That really, like in this time when their stars are so high, that's really cool. And I think that is making more people see horror and genre films, and I appreciate that. So I'm excited. Also, I got shout out to the Can Can in Indianapolis. I got membership that was part of my 40th birthday present, and I'm really pumped because my ticket was free, and I get to walk in there and be like, "Give me my small popcorn," and they'll just give it to me for free because I'm a member. That's cool, and I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, let me talk about my guest. This person is one of my favorite people in the whole world. He is someone I went to college with. He and I were inseparable while he was in college. And then when he went back home to Evansville, Indiana, I was really bummed because A, he wasn't in my life, and that made me sad. But then also, he is so talented, such a talent, such a brilliant actor that I was like, I hate that you aren't going to get the opportunities in Southern Indiana. Like, where are the opportunities for you? And I just thought, like, that sucks. He would have killed it. But then when I asked him to interview, I just took a peek at his IMDb. This dude has been doing so much film, like shorts, TV shows, movies, absolutely like going ham crazy. He has met people obviously that see such good in him and that obviously find a great role for him in a movie. I mean he was doing theater, he was directing, he was artistic directing in Evansville. Like I am like I'll never say anything bad about like Midwestern theater and film ever again. I mean, it's really starting to bubble up here. We also have some people who I went to college with. I have made a production company in Bloomington called Pegasus. They've been doing quite a lot of things, really big movies that have been having like fun premieres here in Indy. So like Indiana film is kicking ass, and I'm just really happy that Kevin has found a place to be as wonderfully talented as he is. I highly recommend going on YouTube, go on his IMDb, find the films that you can on YouTube. There are plenty. One of the ones I really liked was The Confession of Fred Krueger. It's actually kind of a really cool homage to Freddy Krueger. And the most recent one, which I got a screener for and I got to see it, but it's currently on the festival track, but I'm sure it will be put on some streaming thing eventually. But it's called Compression. Wonderful, like insanely well filmed, and the colors are gorgeous, the effects are great. The story is very interesting. It basically follows kind of like an agoraphobic woman who basically is like, all right, I'm done doing this thing. I'm gonna go check out, get on some shrooms. And of course, shrooms do what they gonna do. They show you what they want to show you. Show you what they need to show you, honestly. So I don't want to spoil it too much, but it is quite a ride and quite a catharsis, and it was really wonderful and so great to see Kevin in such a main, awesome, romantic, and lovely role. So good. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting totally carried away, but please watch me on my interview with my wonderful friend who, like me, tends to ramble, loves Mike Flanagan, and is just I don't know, one of the many people who have colored my life, and I love him so much. This is my interview with Kevin Roach. Well, hooray, Kevin Roach. I'm so happy to see you.
So I'm happy to see you too, because it's
Yeah.
been a very long time.
It's been forever, and
Yeah.
it's funny though because you're really not far from my thoughts like ever. So it's like really cool. I don't know. I haven't left my house today. It's in the 90s.
Yeah.
I work from home, so it's like gross and I don't want to leave. And it's been really cool to be like, well, I get to talk to a friend today. Like that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I know
So
we don't do that much, and like in general, like I don't think people talk much anymore.
yeah,
But
and I'm one of those people who still want to be on a phone. I still want to like call people. But I always feel like, we're not those kind of we're not that kind of society anymore. So I always feel very like, I guess no worries if not, like call me on
Yeah.
the phone, no worries. Like,
Oh, I've said that at least 20 times in the last 2 days. Like, it's fine if you can't. Don't worry about it. It's
yeah,
all good.
don't be mad
So,
at me. Like, yeah, I feel very, but then sometimes if somebody like texts me too many times about stuff, like, or asks too many questions, I'm like, call me on the phone. Just call me.
yeah,
Uh,
and see, and I'm the opposite. I'm like, just text it to me. But my favorite phrase is, don't be afraid to give me a gentle reminder, which means I am going to forget this.
yep.
Please
I,
just message me when it's closer to the time. I
I
operate
am
very well under pressure.
Yeah, before since it's been recent, but I was diagnosed with ADHD, so um I I am 100% aware. Like, yeah, there's most times people be like, "Oh, draw this flyer for me," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I'll design something. You're gonna have to give me a deadline, or I will never do it."
Right? It's like I don't remember what creator it was, but he did skits with himself, and he was like, "Hey, we're gonna work on that assignment. It's due Friday." He's like, "You mean it's due tomorrow?" He's like, "No, it's due Friday." He's like, "Due tomorrow," and he's like, "Yeah, I guess it's due tomorrow." He's like, "All right, then let's get to work. Let's do this thing." And I'm like, "That's me, 100%."
That's very clever. Interesting. Yeah. Oh, well, speaking of creating, so I've always wanted you on the podcast because I knew that you would have one or two great things to say about horror. Um, but then I was like, you were talking a bit about like what's been going on with you, and I went to your IMDb and it was like, holy shit. Like Kevin has been doing some fucking films. Like like it was so funny because the first thing that shows up is literally something we did at IU, which was Rupert Grimfront's Omniverse in miniature.
And you can watch it on YouTube.
You
Anytime,
can.
anytime my friends now, I'm like, "Do you want to hear what my original voice sounded like?" They're like, "What?" I'm like, "Before the rafts, before the nodule that I found out is massive and terrifying on my
Oh
vocal
my
cords."
gosh.
Yeah, apparently in 2006, back in the flashback, I did a play on the theater that I ran for 8 years.
Yeah.
The director wanted me to do a scream that we hadn't planned on, and I wasn't feeling good. The very short version is I did it, strained my voice, and after that, it didn't help that I smoked at the time, but we always knew there was something wrong with my voice. And a friend of mine is a speech therapist, and she's like, "We have this new scope, and we need to test it. And I know you've always wanted to know." And they're like, got the scope down my throat, and they're like, "Okay, we're just gonna examine the." Oh, I'm like, "No, not oh." And it's just a nodule that just like rests. It rests on my vocal cords, and when they open, it like drops and then pulls back up. And so that is what gives me the rasp and why I sound like a Wookiee when I yawn. It will probably happen in this episode.
Yes. Secretly. That's crazy. That is maybe my hugest fear. Um, being a singer and being someone who screams a lot when I sing, because I'm in a mathy punk grindcore band. I'm also in I don't know, I'm in another band recently, but like I'm always a little afraid of what I may be doing to my voice, and to a point where like, my kid has had to go to an ear, nose, and throat doctor for her ear tubes, and every now and then I'll literally pepper her with, I'm like, I got a question about nodules, like, and she'll always be like, what do you need to know?
it,
I see,
it's
I see that you're worried about something. I'm like, So, wow. Wow. And that's so okay, because that was something I also, so as I was going through your IMDb, it was cool to see that Rupert Grimfront only because I was in that. Also, on IMDb, I am wrongly credited as being the blonde, which was our friend Jenny.
yeah,
And
that was Jenny on the bus.
yeah, so it's hilarious. I was on that bus too, but I wasn't the blonde, so it's kind of funny. But then I also was like going through your other whatever I could get online. There were a couple shorts, there were a lot of trailers, and I was just like, man, this guy's voice, like, was it always like this? It's so it's just so like I don't know. It's very expressive. It has a personality of its own. But now, yeah, I'm wondering if like the rasp is doing something for you in the horror movie realm.
I it's worked in my favor, especially when I can talk lower and deeper and they can mic me. And
Sure.
also, sorry if I keep shifting. My room is slightly slanted backwards, so like I'll be interviewing, and then I'll just be like, and anyway, and then all of a sudden, and then I'm like, so I have to keep pulling myself closer
You're
again.
fine. It's just you're shrink,
Um,
you know, you're shrinking it's all good. It does
and
look
I
like you're like getting smaller.
Well, and I lowered my chair because I realized I was like hunched over to fit into the camera. I've been playing a solo RPG game, tabletop
Ooh.
RPG game, where I have to record logs like I'm a survivor in a ship, hence the background. But I do a lot of like leaning in, like, oh my gosh,
Ooh.
can you hear the alien? Um,
This
I
is
have
cool.
also
What game is this?
it's called The Wretched, and
Whoa.
it's basically the movie Alien. You're the sole survivor. You're Sigourney Weaver on a ship, the salvage ship, and you have jettisoned this alien out of the airlock, but it's still there. And by a roll of the dice and choosing a playing card at random, and then looking in the instruction book, what does that playing card mean? You have to come up with your story for the day, and then they encourage you to record it. Now, they
Hmm.
normally it's audio recordings, but and normally you write it out, this is what happened, and then sometimes I have a Jenga tower I'm trying desperately not to knock over because it'll be like, pull a block from the tower, that's your ship, and if it falls you die. It's designed to kill you. The game is the mechanics, like at the end, it's like the end of the manual is like, you will probably die, it is likely nobody will remember you.
Whoa.
And I'm
Oh
like,
my.
but it gets real deep, and it like even has like a be careful trauma here. There might be some that are traumatic, and but I decided to treat it like an improv game, to where like
Mhm.
I'm recording, I look at it, I look at the prompt, and it's like, you just found the body of a crew member you had a romantic relationship with, and you didn't know that they where or how they died. How do you feel? Record your
Ooh.
log. And so I'm like crying and like letting out actual real drama. It's fun. It's super fun. So,
That's
but I
cool. Like, and I also feel like I think a lot of people, when someone tells you to try journaling, it can be such a goddamn, yeah, like such an eye roll of like I don't really want to talk about me. Like lately I've noticed that my favorite thing to do is kind of escape into something that isn't me that I can just kind of like put on, but like still feel feelings. So, movies and books are like the best things for that. But man, this RPG sounds fucking cool too. That's great.
I'm not really an RPG player, but I was like, I'm gonna give this a shot, and it's like so much fun, and I'm
Great.
excited. I kind of want to edit it and put it out as like a kind of an acting social experiment, just to be like, hey, this was all improv. I didn't, the only thing I might edit is a lot of the ums and ahs out of there, but like, why not? It's an
Yeah.
escape. It's a horror escape.
Yeah, exactly. That's
So
amazing. Well, yeah. Well, kind of going back to just you and ever since I have known you, you have been an actor. You have been um stage acting. You really don't, I mean, like to me, you translate well everywhere. Like seeing you in newer films is really like to me it's like I don't know, I feel like a cheerleader on a sideline that's like he's doing it. Like I'm just so like literally the happiest. Um but I had to say I watched The Confession of Fred Krueger the whole way
Oh,
through.
I was well. You're wearing that sweater, and I was like, I wonder,
I wore this to
is it
both
suit?
remind myself that this conversation was going to happen tonight and and also to be like I look down I'm like oh yeah Kevin like yeah. Um, but I watched it and was very like, what a wonderful vehicle for you. What like you almost sound sometimes like Christopher Lloyd. Like,
I haven't heard that in a long time, but I'm okay with it. People used to tell me that all the time, and I was like, that's great, good.
yeah. Like, yeah, I'm like that to me that is high praise. It is amazing. I
Yeah.
really liked that there was a movie for you that like the short was such a good way to just listen to you talk. Like
and that
there were
was, go ahead.
there were even moments where I was not looking at I wasn't even looking. I was also working, but I was like I didn't need to. You were taking me exactly where I needed to go. There was a couple scenes of like, a kid, and obviously budget is low. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay. But there were moments where I was just like, oh, like I don't even need this. Like I could almost hear this as something else. God, that spider is huge. I'm gonna ignore it.
Here or there?
Oh
Okay.
no.
I'm
Oh
like,
no, I'm
what?
sorry. Here, it's literally like beyond my laptop, and I'm just like, you stay the fuck over there. Like,
Well, and that was one, the director, Nathan Milliner, who's more well known for his art. Like, if you bought Halloween 2 on Blu-ray at any point and it was like, looked like a painting, that's his
yeah.
artwork.
Wow.
He's done a lot of like original poster art and he still does a lot of commissions. But he's a huge Freddy fan, like the biggest one. And he wanted to make one fan film. Like a lot of people have been like, make more. He's like, no, like I'm done.
No,
He's a very chill
yeah.
dude. And he's
It
like,
was
nope.
definitely like a fan film. Like, you could definitely tell that he wanted to just pay homage to the source material. And I just think, yeah, him choosing you is just a like how did he do that? Was there auditions or did you know the guy? Like,
I did a film for him in a series of films called Volumes of Blood, where I had to play a character that was, surprise, surprise, a demon.
I saw
And
the trailer for this.
yeah,
You looked so creepy. The
yeah,
the
well,
quick movements, like that was really cool. I just liked the fact that they like sped you up sometimes.
yeah, they would be like, but they would have me move like slowly. They're like, move like methodically. And we're gonna speed it up. And I'm like, will this work? And they're like, yeah, trust us. But that the makeup was like, now they would do it completely differently. But it was like what do you call it, like a wax,
Mhm.
and I was getting so hot it was melting on my body. Well, it happened to be winter, so in between shots I would go outside and stand like a crucifix, like in the cold 25-degree air, just to like make sure it didn't melt off for the next shot. But in that one, they wanted me to use my deeper voice as much as possible, and he was like, hey, you ever thought about doing a Freddy Krueger thing? I'm like, no, let's talk. Super fun fact about that, ties to Ryan Reynolds, um, because my character in that wears a devil mask, and it was especially made vacuum form mask that was specially designed by one of the director's friends at Trick or Treat Studios, I think. And he
Hmm.
just came up with a sculpt, made a vacuum form mask, and then they sold it as the mask from Volumes of Blood. Nobody knew what that movie was, but it was a cool mask. And when they did what was it, the Once Upon a Deadpool, like kind of riff on the Princess Bride, that mask is hanging on the wall in the background.
Oh,
That exact mask. We're like,
that's
what?
that's crazy. That would be crazy, like as somebody who is in one specific small film to see on a larger thing and be like, what? Like that's so cool.
Oh, there
That's
was a
like
whole
when
group chat of people ready. Did you see? And I mean,
that's
anybody
really
could
cool.
buy it. Just generic devil mask. So,
That's like when sometimes like bands that I've played with, their band shirts will be on a show and I'll be like, "What? Like, how'd that small band get that band shirt in there?" I love it. I'm always like, "Does anyone want a cell phone's band shirt?" Kevin, any film you're in the future, if they need a band shirt, they can have
mm,
one for free. I'll make them one because we don't have any currently in stock. But whatever. Okay.
noted. Because in independent film, they're always like, we need a shirt with no logo, or if it's a logo, it needs to be like a band or something that is fine with us using their logo.
It's me always. And also you can use
Honestly.
my music for or you can use my music for free 99 every time. I
Also
don't
noted.
I do not care. Anyway,
Always needed.
so I also wanted to mention you are currently in Evansville, Indiana, yes?
Yes.
Cool.
Where my family is from ish. They live in Mount Vernon. That's where I was born and raised, but I'm living in Evansville, which
Yeah.
is the third largest city in Indiana. But
Which
here,
is wild. So I've never been down to Evansville. The reputation that Evansville has is that it is way the fuck like I live in Indianapolis now.
oh,
So
okay.
Oh, there's that spider. Hi, buddy. What you doing? Why are you on my notes? What are you doing? Don't come over here. Oh, okay. All right. He's okay. All right. Yep. Okay. Bye.
I
Okay.
know.
Just trying to make sure he's okay. Yep. All right. I don't want to like hurt him
No,
because
no.
they like eat my bugs and stuff. But anyway, they Evansville gets has a reputation of being way down south, and not much going on. But however, I see you in, I don't know, you've had an opportunity to be in all these films. You used to be the artistic director of the theater
Evansville,
company?
Evansville Civic Theater. Yeah, it's I think the second longest running nonprofit community theater in Indiana, and I actually think the first because I think some numbers were fudged back in the olden days. But yeah, I
So
did that for 8 years, but I directed with them for 10 because there's like a couple of years there where I just kind of came in and did a show here or there.
nice. Well, I remember thinking when you were, like, because you went to college for a bit, that's how I met you. Um, when you went back, I remember just thinking to myself, like, man, like Kevin's so talented. He should be like doing stuff. He should be in a place where he can do stuff. Um, and then I, promptly marched up to Chicago and then didn't do stuff because I just kind of was so sick of I don't know, the politics of theater up there and
It's good to know it's not just here then. So
right? Like, I mean, I think I mean, honestly, that's what turned me off from theater in general was just kind of the constant favoritism and the constant, like, and maybe it was because we were younger and so we were going for these younger parts, but like, it was hard. It was really hard for me. And being someone of a lot of people ask me where I was from, like people like sometimes casting someone of mixed race is hard because they don't know where to put you. Um, but I thought that was very like, that was just because the directors were very close-minded or just not imaginative enough. That changed after a while though. But like then I saw, usually you post pretty often on Facebook. Where I am.
I've slowed down a bit, but I'm pretty open about like mental health and stuff. And
Exactly, exactly. And so like I've been very grateful for it because it helps me keep tabs on you. But seeing you do shit like Rocky Horror down there, seeing you do like be like yeah, like do the whole civic theater thing, like that really gave me like I don't know, it really gave me hope for local theater because like now I understand that like theater isn't for the old people that go to the Goodman and donate all the time. Like, yeah, the theater's for them too, but really like what we need theater is we need it on a regional level. We need it on a smaller scale for people who don't get the opportunity because they have to live in Evansville, Indiana, or you have to live in a place that's not freaking New York or LA. Like, and that's like
yeah,
the thing, like people are always saying like, well, you only can act or do anything if you're in New York or LA. But I'm like, no, no, no. We're in the middle here and we all need theater. Like the worst of us need theater. Like
yeah.
the most closed-minded of us need theater. And it was just so wonderful and refreshing to know that you were down there doing that kind of theater and that you were able to like have the opportunity to be in all these films. So like I guess tell me about kind of like what's it like down there and like I don't know, are you finding people like yourself like doing really cool shit? Like or where, like, I don't know. Yeah. Where are you getting all this stuff from, guy? Like,
I, I hate the phrase like I found my people, but I found the people that I jive with well, and
nice.
I could spend an entire other podcast talking about how COVID affected theater in small cities because I would get jealous sometimes reading about other theaters in big cities that are like we're packing the house and everything, and we weren't.
Hmm.
And I'm like, and I'll keep this brief. I just started asking people. I'm like, is it because you're afraid to get out because you're sick? And I finally got someone to be honest with me. And I mean, there was more to the conversation of this, but it boiled down to it's just going out's just A, not part of our routine anymore. And B, I can watch Broadway on demand. So why spend $15-20 to go see a play?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that seems to be a big mentality amongst a lot of people, at least here anyway.
Hmm.
So it's a little tough. And I would I love to live in a bigger city? Yeah, absolutely. I love Atlanta. I really want to go to Atlanta. I have a friend of mine, my ex girlfriend, is down there in Atlanta as a working actress, and I think it's so awesome for her. And
That's cool.
I go there once a year for Dragon Con because nerd. Um, but I really would love to move down there. I'm here. I'm mostly here for my parents. I mean, I think you remember how I meant talk about my dad a lot and how close I
Your
was
dad
with
must be
him.
protected at all costs, so.
Yes, yes, he's a much better person than I and any other human. And but I'm here for them, but make the best of it in the meantime. And just
Yeah.
doing plays, I met the right people, and I met like-minded people, like the film I'm in now that's making the film festival circuits, Compression, like that director, he and I are the same person with imposter syndrome, where like we have to build each other up, have like, oh, this is not that great. I'm like, yeah, but I look good in it, so put it out there. And he's like, oh, why didn't you word it like that? Like, you can't be like, hey, your film's good. He'll put it out there if he feels like it's making his friends look good, and then vice versa. I would direct a play, and I'd be like, oh, it's terrible. And he'd be like, but we're doing well in it. And you don't want to give up on us, do you? Absolutely not. But so like I found it's my weird humorous way of being like, I found like-minded people that are also very talented creatives and come up
Yeah.
with some great things that 90% of the time nobody's ever going to see it. um, and then every now and then you'll get that one that like, oh, people really like this. I know that one we're having a little trouble um, marketing. That's a terrible way to put it. It's a little hard marketing it because that particular story for Compression is it's not horror enough for horror festivals, and it's too
Yeah.
horror for regular
You
festivals.
did mention that it was a little surreal. And in the trailer, which I watched,
Mm.
it is
Which
also
tells you
very,
nothing.
yeah, it was very like, I have no idea what's going on here. Which made me, think to myself, like, oh, well, I'll watch it at least because I have to know what even that was. Also, like, I like I feel like with I don't know, the horror film, like the film festivals that you're getting accolades for, which has been really great to see. Um, those are local too. Like one was in Nashville, one was in Cincinnati. So again, like big cities, but like so spread out and very Midwest slash South. Like, and also there's like, there's apps like Tubi and stuff where I'm seeing films that I have no business seeing, but like it's so different from how things were, I would say like 10 years ago when you really had to go look for bad films. Like you had to really go look for people's independent stuff or even like stuff that you would watch and be like, "Holy shit, this is great." And it's free on Tubi. Like a movie that both me and Jared kind of helped with the music for Departing Seniors just got like a thing where it was like, "We're now on Tubi." And I'm like, "Yeah." Like because I know that that's going to reach a larger audience because I don't know, because Tubi's cool. Tubi's like not like it's not bad to watch shit on Tubi. But yeah, like
No,
I
not at
feel
all. I
yeah.
have several films on there. Well, at least a few that I know of.
Yeah, so I need like I'll definitely just I'm gonna type your name in. I'm gonna watch all of them. It'll
Oh,
be great.
buckle up for Harvest Lake. That's one anytime I'm doing any kind of directing or educational setting or whatever. Don't get me wrong, I am proud of that movie. It is a very sexy monster movie, but like, and it's beautiful, well done, well directed, well shot. I would work with that director any day of the week. But like, anytime it's brought up, I'm like, and we will not be talking about that,
Okay.
because that was one like the director presented me with the script, and he was like, no, read the whole script, and I'm like, cool. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's the guy. It's like the guy that comes in and is the one that everybody wants to sleep with. Nobody ever cast me as that character. I'm the guy next door. I am in. He's like, Kevin, read the whole script. Okay. So I did the thing where I like skimmed it. And I'm like, and then I saw who was going to be in it. And there was an actress from one of my favorite independent horrors, American Mary. And
Ooh.
have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Oh, the girl who played Tristan Risk, who played the kind of Betty Boop character, she was in the movie with me, and I didn't realize that right away because she wore prosthetics in American Mary, and then I was like, and had a fangirl. I was like, can I have a fangirl moment?
Oh
She's
yeah.
like, yeah. I'm like, you're the reason I tell people to watch that movie, and she's super super nice. But we did it, and we get there, and we're on set, and they said bring several outfits. Cool. I was staying in a cabin for like 3 or 4 days, and they're like, all right, we're gonna shoot the tentacle orgy first, and I'm like, wait, I'm sorry, what?
Hmm?
And they're like, he's like, damn it, Kevin, you didn't read the script. I'm like, I just didn't read the last 3 pages. And he's like, that's for the tentacle orgy. So lots of black goo and fake monsters and people in underwear making them look like they're naked, and shooting
Amazing.
shooting sex scenes are the fakest things ever. Like I watch them in movies now, and I'm just like laughing at how there's like looking at the angles. I'm like, they're standing over a cameraman pretending to dry hump them,
Yep.
just to get that one shot.
That
And
one shot. That's so cool. That's
yeah,
amazing.
but I'm proud. Yeah, I'm proud of it. It's just one of those like my parents will never see it. They know it exists. They know what it's about. And they're like, should we watch? No, okay.
I like when you, yeah, I like when there is like movies where you're like, oh, this is one I want you to see, not this one though.
Yeah,
Like, and you, yeah, I feel like you have a good amount of them, and that's really cool. Because there are, I mean, like, I don't know. I thought, um, I didn't get to watch all of them. I did watch the trailer for Galians.
that was so fun. And the trailer doesn't even include the one we're in, or I'm in. I play my friend's dad in one of them, like his voice. Like they were like, all right, talk deep. And like, you're going to join the military, son. And it's like, he's my friend. And they're like, yeah, but then we were talking about, like age ranges. And I'm like, I've been acted in shows with him. And I'm like, you're like, what, like 35? And he's like, I'm like 10 years younger than that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I keep forgetting these things anyway. But no, the I did a segment like the last segment because I think it was like 4 different stories, and they all have a level of camp to them, like intentional camp, like kind of I don't want to say John Watersy, but almost that level of like we know this is hokey,
Yeah.
and there's also sex in every one, and until you get to ours. And we watched it at a premiere. Super weird watching your friends have extremely interesting looking sex scenes. In fact, my friend who did compression edited that, and what am I allowed to say on this?
Anything,
he
anything
goes,
and everything.
he said, I guess they only had like sock coverings, and he had so little footage because of some technical difficulties that he was telling Daniel, the guy in it, he's like, I had to edit around your butthole to make sure that we didn't see it. He's like, I had to actually CGI it out at one point, and and I would be mortified. But so like sexy funny comedy, and then it like goes to, I think the one right before ours was like sexy fun but a little scary, and then it gets to ours and it's like right off the bat somebody gets shot in the face, and I didn't reading it and playing it, it felt funny, but then like seeing it fully edited done, I'm like, wow, this is dark. This is
Oof.
like really dark, and I'm playing a drag queen.
Yeah, it was great. Like I saw
Alien.
the yeah, I saw the makeup. Well, yeah, the whole thing was basically like one of you is an alien. And it was just
Yes.
like, what the hell? Like and it was very interesting. This is the kind of trivia though that I need on the IMDb. Like Kevin Roach's butthole had to be CGI'd out of
That
the
was
like
not mine. That was my friend's.
oh, well then I need that. Someone else's butthole needed to be CGI'd like I need that information. To me, that would make it even more like, hey everybody, you need to watch this.
It's more fun with compression because you actually that movie was born out of the director, mostly just he had nothing to film during COVID, so he filmed his girlfriend a lot, and
Hmm.
then they lost a cat, and they're very close to their pets, and the kind of this whole idea of people being shut in, loss, pain, grief. How can we turn this into like a story with kind of maybe a supernatural twist to it? And but you don't see my character until like an hour into the movie. But my
Oh
character
wow.
is, it's a 2 hour movie. You see brief flashes, but you don't hear my voice or fully see me till the exact 1 hour mark. And I'm watching it and I'm like, I look horrible in that shot. It's the shot in the trailer. I look horrible in that shot because I was really sick, and I found out later I had a bacterial infection from
Ugh.
a wound that had spread into my bloodstream.
Oh no.
And I just thought I wasn't feeling well. And then the next day I went to the doctor, and he was like, "We're going to put you on a lot of antibiotics." But, I did that scene. And so that's a fun tidbit.
That's fun. See, need it in the IMDb. Need it.
Yeah.
Something I do want to bring up is again, you've been extremely open with me ever since I've known you about your mental health. Um, I have felt very honored in your honesty. It makes me want to be more honest. I'm also one of those people that just kind of says when I'm having a bad time, so that people know, and so that you know, I don't know, I always feel better when I do that. Um, do you find an outlet in doing kind of horror movies like this? Like, does horror kind of do you use horror as an outlet? And I mean, the podcast is usually at its very center, it is about how we use horror to come to terms with things, how we use horror to, point at parts of ourselves that we do not like. Um, how do you let horror help you?
Honestly, it's I'm sorry I keep bringing up compression, but like that movie entirely was built upon this idea of trauma,
Yeah,
and how can we turn this into a horror story. And yeah, I can't really say more than that without giving it away, but like it
sure.
really, I mean, being in it, there were several scenes where we're actually, Emily and I, the actress who's a good friend of mine, and we play opposite each other a lot, are like crying a lot. And I was watching it with a friend, and they're like, "That looks so real." I'm like, "No, we're really crying. Like we're like, and not like acting crying. Like we're the things we're talking about are things we've both been through, and we started actually getting very upset and anxious. And there's actually a scene in there where I have a full-on panic attack,
Oof.
and I'm supposed to be upset. And
Uh-huh.
it was hot outside, and I'm playing a character that, for the first time in the entire film, is just explosively angry. And we had to. There were a lot of setbacks, and I started to actually have a panic attack.
Oof.
And the director was so kind, and he was like, "Let's stop. Let's take a break." And I was like, "Nope. I I am making the adult conscious decision to keep doing this because this is going to help." Like I'm getting, and I wouldn't recommend that to any actor. As a director myself, who has directed stage productions, I'm
Exactly. You want to
all,
know, you want to stop things. Like when you see
yeah,
that things are getting too personal and too serious, you want to stop it.
yeah. But that was something that I was just like, I was like, "Jake, I'm a consenting adult. I promise I'm going to be okay." But I was
Mhm.
like, and there was at one point, can I cuss? Is that okay? I don't. Okay. The line is, he loses his temper at his wife. Oh, spoiler. And the line is just, "It's a fucking tire," and it's not meant, no exclamation mark, just he's mad. And the one shot where I screamed it, that's the shot he used.
Hmm.
And I didn't think like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to make the movie so much better," but it was just definitely, I was like, "Jake, let me go through this. Let me have this moment," because this entire film is about working through trauma in some way, shape, or form, just with the supernatural kind of twist to it.
Hmm.
And so I was like, "Let me try this. Let me experiment with it." And so it is a way to kind of, as I told one friend, like, let those demons out as long as you're safe about it.
Yeah.
I did a play a while back with the same director when he directed a play with my theater company, but under our underground umbrella. It was kind of like, what was it called at Bloomington Players Project? like the After Dark series or something like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of, we did something similar for a while where like, those were the shows that were racier and more edgy. And we did a show called Killer Joe, written by Tracy Letts. And
Mm.
Matthew McConaughey was in the movie version of it, which I only watched afterwards. And that's an awful character. Like he does some really awful, awful things that had to be choreographed. And on stage, it was a lot of letting out of emotion. But like the moment I got backstage, I would like check in with everybody to the point that they were like, Kevin, stop. Because I'd be like, I will kill your entire family. And then I'd get off stage like, are you okay? Good,
Yeah.
great. Are we good? Okay, good. Because I want to make sure everybody else is okay. My feelings,
Yeah.
be damned. But yeah, no, it really is a good way to just kind of like get all of that out. And sometimes, and again, I hate the phrase pretending to be somebody else because acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. But um, it is kind of a chance to pretend to be somebody else for a minute. I
Yeah.
can pretend to be the bad guy and be mean and yell a little bit, and then like afterwards check in and be like, "Are we cool? Are you okay?"
Yeah, I like that I not to say that I think that you're a better actor because of the trauma you've had in your past or whatever. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I feel like you're better at compartmentalizing. And I think sometimes even the people who are good at that can slip into and also like when you're among friends, I feel like sometimes you feel safer to do so because it's your friends.
Yeah,
Whereas if you were on a fucking, professional set, you would probably do better. You would be like, oh, yes, let's stop. I need to go to my trailer and have some thoughts, like,
yeah.
but I think
Even
because you're with people that you love and trust, there's a little bit of, and that's always why, like, when we were in college, it was really hard to watch people like hook up and break up because they were in a play together, and that always made me really upset. But it was also really beautiful when I watched somebody be super vulnerable and then say to the other person, like, thank you for letting me be vulnerable. Thank you for
tell
having me in this moment, like,
and I tell people like, thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for allowing yourself to be vulnerable and show that side. Did you ever do the being exercise?
yeah.
Okay, I do a light version of that because back in the old days of college theater, it was like let's dig your traumas out and
Yeah, and it sometimes, it would be somebody dealing with. I mean, I remember what I did during my we did a being exercise where you had a person, and so you picked somebody in the group that was that kind of looked like that person. And I remember having like a conversation with my brother's dad, um, who I wasn't able to talk to because he was dead. And so I was really just telling him like, I really hate that you weren't a part of my brother's life, and but I also really thank you for having him. Like, thank you for bringing him into mine. And I will do everything that I can to make him feel loved because you're not here.
yeah,
And that was a great and wonderful for me, like a great thing. And almost to a point where I was like, I'm not using this for acting. I'm literally exercising a damn demon. But like some people were confronting their rapists, and we all would just like, there was a certain moment where I was like, I am not equipped to help this person. This person just gets to go back to their dorm and like go back to school and shit. Whereas we may have ripped open something very personal. That being said, also like the people that I uh were with in that class, I think I'm friends with all of them. Like I think we all still like check in on each other, which is crazy. But yeah, it's cool to do that to an extent because you do need to understand that like yeah, like acting is just literally being, and you have the tools to be a certain way because of what your life has done. But it's, when you're doing stuff that I don't know, it would almost be better equipped for a therapist. Like
yeah.
sometimes there's a line. Um, but I think that like I don't know. Some people, that's just how some people roll, you know? And I feel like the reason why I love horror is because it makes me feel a strong feeling, and sometimes I can understand that feeling. Um, Sometimes the way that someone directs makes me think about that feeling differently. Like, and I would like to just jump into this,
Okay.
Flanagan. Um, Midnight Mass completely ruined me because I've always, I'm an atheist. I do not believe that anything is happening. But that was a great, like their monologues about like what happens in the end were so beautiful and so like, huh, I could see that. Like it was very like mind-opening and spiritual in a way that like was almost perverted because of what was happening, you know?
Yeah.
Um that movie that show that show really hit me in ways like at the very end, like I just was so like I'm watching a person die. Like this is crazy. And it was like I don't know. I know you're a big Flanagan fan. Um but yeah, I just think that I feel like Flanagan is making shows for the actor.
He
A lot
really
of
is.
a lot of my friends are like, it's too much monologue. And sometimes even I feel that, but like
Never know.
most of the time I'm like, no, 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 no. This is act like this is like watching a really fancy stage play, like a 4D stage play.
Yeah, that's why I think I like it a lot. Is it's like watching a play, you know.
Hmm.
And I always like afterwards I watch episodes of some of his stuff, and I'm like, are the actors okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says I've listened to several interviews with him, and he's like, we always check in and we always make sure people are okay. I'm like, good, that's what I do. Like anytime I direct anything horror-ish, stage wise, I'm always like, cool, we went to some dark places. Are we okay? You know,
Yeah.
and just for the briefest moment, backtracking, when I would do some of those exercises, like we did a production of Lord of the Flies because we always did one literature piece, and
Hmm.
that's kind of horror and involves young people. And I would always, if we did an exercise and I said, and it's too far, you only need to say no or pass, and I will move on to the next thing. I won't even acknowledge it. Like, we're done with that topic. Let's move on,
Yeah.
Um, and in listening to an interview with him, he's very similar, like in the sense that like he wants to make sure his actors are okay, that they're going through these deep things. But that was such Midnight Mass was so cool because it explored, like, I have Christian friends that even liked it because, and after I kind of told them to watch it because they were a little leery because of the Catholic Church, and I'm like, but it really explores faith versus religion,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
different kinds of faith, not just Catholicism, but faith versus religion,
Yeah.
and
And just like where that can take you. And even if you have the best intentions at heart, it's still like evil. Like you could still, or like, even people with good intentions can create something terrible and horrible when you look at it and you're like, does anyone else not see that this is absolutely terrible? Like I don't
well,
know.
and
I very much like I know that not everybody in the world thinks like I do. And it's very interesting to see just kind of like, yeah, the road to hell being paved with good intentions and how everyone really was trying to do their best and just and still like, they couldn't see what was right in front of them at all.
and that's what I love about especially Flanagan's horror is like, yeah, in this case it's about vampires. Oh no, in case you haven't seen it, sorry.
Oops.
But like in dealing with faith and religion, but it also deals with the fact that like people who aren't bad people can sometimes make horrible mistakes
Hmm.
and realize that, that this thing that I did was wrong,
Yeah.
and
I
that's
did
something.
love like at the end when the two like when the parents are also vampires and they're like, you can not do it.
Yeah,
It
we can choose
hurts.
not to.
But yeah, like I liked I liked that conversation that they had. It was very quick and it was just like I can feel it, but if you don't, you can still live. Like and it was just like this moment of like choosing something even though it goes against what you think is right, like, or like something is right, and even though your instincts want you to go somewhere else because I don't know how you were raised, religion, things that have happened to you, knowing that you can also just not engage in that,
Yeah.
even though it may hurt, even though you may lose family, even though you may go hungry
And,
because you need blood.
yeah. And even characters that did horrible things that are like, I'm sorry. Like
Hmm.
they're not asking for forgiveness, more or less just kind of saying, because I'm gonna be real frank, time to get real. Like I've done that more than once. Like
Hmm.
just shitty things I did in my 20s that I now look back at and I'm like, wow, what?
Hmm.
Like there's been people that I've just said, hey, look, I'm not asking for any kind of forgiveness. I just want you to know that like I've grown. I'm not that person. And
Yeah, and again, I feel like there's so much that horror can teach us about those kinds of things, like, and in ways that like maybe you can't learn from your upbringing or your society or whatever. Like there are people making films like this where, yeah, somebody is saying like, "Oh, I've been doing this wrong the whole time. I'm sorry." And
yeah.
just owning up to it, like, I don't know, even like, I don't know. Yeah, it's apologizing when you're an adult for doing shitty things that maybe even weren't all that shitty. Like it's hard. It's fucking hard to do.
When
Teaching
you
a
have
4-year-old how to apologize, I almost think is easier than apologizing myself about really weird, vague things that, you know, someone is hurt and I should apologize. Like it's been interesting. It's an interesting dichotomy of like how simple it is to teach a kid to apologize on their own, but then also it's just so hard to do it yourself. I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, I feel like what I like about Mike Flanagan's stuff is that he really just shows us that like, yeah, even the worst people deserve I think if anything, especially the worst people deserve an arc, you know?
yeah.
Like those are the people who need it the most because they are the worst. Like,
Yeah.
um, yeah, even with Usher, with House of Usher, like every single member of that family in their own way are terrible people. Um, some a little bit more obvious than others, some a little bit like more undercurrent, except for Lenore. Lenore was perfect.
Yeah,
Um,
that scene made me cry a lot. Like I still
dude,
cry when I watch that scene, and I've seen that show more times than I can count,
I
honestly.
love it. Yeah, and I mean me too, but also like when the end came, I was like, yeah, I'm glad that we didn't try to spare anybody because that I feel like Edgar Allan Poe would have not been he would have been like, "What? You're
No,
sparing someone?"
yeah,
Really?
and it's funny watching people's reactions because I love reaction videos, and that's how I've watched shows so many times.
Nice.
It's more I've watched it through the eyes of other people, and how many people were like, "No, this is terrible. They didn't spare," and I'm like, "No, but if she did, it would kind of undermine everything."
Yeah, it would
Yeah,
almost be like you undid all of yeah, it would just be like a stupid throwaway. Like, oh, I'm gonna spare this one? No, I don't think. Yeah, I thought it was extremely smartly done. And I think even with that decision, like I knew just watching it that Flanagan had had that thought, like that he had thought to himself, like, should we spare or should we not? No. And I feel like every decision that he makes in a series is deliberate.
very.
I think that's why I very much like he just obviously has a mind like a steel trap and he needs people. And again, he also uses his wife. He uses people that he works with very often, which again, I think makes you a better director and makes you know your people, find your people, and be able to use them like as optimally as you possibly can, which I think is like that as a director. Um,
Well, and
I
with
hear
Usher, I don't know if you know about the backstory with that. They had to refilm almost all of it.
what?
Yeah, because people are gonna like curse my name if I pronounce his name wrong, but Frank Langoja, Frank. Oh gosh,
Who's the guy? What are we talking about?
Franklin Gosha. I don't know, but he was Roderick Usher, and
Oh,
he
that
was,
guy. I have no
yeah.
idea what his name was. I've seen him in so
Well,
many movies.
but not the guy we saw, because they had to fire the original Roderick Usher and recast, and the guy that we see in the show stepped in, and every scene with Roderick Usher had to be reshot, like almost a
Oh
year
my
or
God, are you
more.
saying Frank Langella? Like
Langella,
the
that's it. He was quite inappropriate on set, to the point that, and Mike Flanagan, Heath Flanagan took a chance on having somebody new, because he's like, we need to add new people in there. Like Mark Hamill hadn't been anything of his, and Frank Langella, that's what it is. Sorry for
No,
mispronouncing
no,
the
no.
name,
Yeah,
but
I didn't know about this, so I wasn't sure who you were saying. But man, Frank Langella, that's
yeah, they
hmm.
they really mum about it at first, but after a while it started to come out, and still not the details fully haven't come out. But I can garner based on the scenes is that the short version is he started making a lot of inappropriate jokes and things like that, and they kind of asked him, "Hey, we're gonna understand you're from a different time period, and maybe that was
Yeah.
okay back in the good old days with the boys, but that's not something you can do here." Especially when you're playing a character whose wife is supposed to be generations younger than you are.
Generations, and then also like you know, I love Ruth what is her name?
Ruth Cobb,
Yeah, Ruth Codd is amazing.
yeah,
But she also was, like you're also playing with it like not only is your wife younger, but she is disabled like in a anyway.
yeah.
I don't
It
but
just
like yeah, you have to be sensitive. And I feel
yeah,
like yeah, Flanagan knows like how to I don't know. He again he doesn't put up with that shit. So that's
he,
crazy. I had no idea.
yeah, he crossed the line too far, and I again, just garnering what I can from what people said, I have a feeling it had to do with Ruth Codd in a particular scene, and he just was like, "You're done, goodbye." And they went back, and every scene that he was in reshot. If there were some moments he said where you'll notice we never have him and the other person in the same frame, and it's because we're using some of the original footage and some of the new footage. But like
Wow.
Bruce Greenwood stepped in and redid it, and I'm like, I couldn't imagine anybody else doing that part.
Yeah, me neither. And he has worked with him in the past too. So it was
Yes,
almost like I just need someone who I know isn't gonna fucking be weird. Um, that's
but
so
I
cool.
I like that he does take risks on new actors sometimes,
Yeah.
because some of his actors he has now, up until he got them for like a couple of them he got during Midnight Club, which didn't
Hmm.
do as well. Um,
Yeah, and that's
that
where Ruth Codd is from.
Yes, and that
Yeah.
was the first thing she'd ever done.
Yeah.
That was the first thing Soren Sapkota, who plays Prospero, had ever done, and now they're like part of his team. So I'm trying so hard to get his touch point high.
You should, by all means. I also hear that you have a couple goodies from the show itself, um, that you got on
De-
auction.
Depression is a real fun thing, and so ADHD, and we crave those dopamine hits, and I'll try to keep it super short. But they had a charity auction, and I was geeking out because not only did I watched House of Usher when I had COVID for the second time, and that was when I was kind of going back and forth of like, do I stay with the theater job that is kind of wearing me out, or do I move on? And it was actually a line that Lenore says, where she's like, "Let it go, let it all go. The place is bad for you." And
Hmm.
not that the theater itself was bad, but it was like it had become bad for me, and I needed to step away,
Yeah.
and just for my own sanity. And so that show was kind of special to me. It was like horror that touched me on a level that it was probably the fever, but and I love Flanagan and I love his work. And so like when I saw this charity auction, I was like, this is a chance to like touch something that he worked with. And my favorite post story of all time is Mask of the Red Death. On
Mhm.
my YouTube channel, I think it's still there. Right when everything shut down because of COVID, before we even really knew how bad it was, I thought it was a smart idea to do a staged reading of that in my bedroom, and I did. And looking back on it, I'm like, wow, that was not great timing. But I love that story, and I liked how they did it in that episode. I thought it was so cool and so unexpected because he really doesn't do gore, and that was the first time we'd really ever seen like gross. You know, that ending scene with the the party, and
Hmm.
you know, in the story everybody dies from a disease that decays them, and then spoiler alert, in the episode it's like acid rain, and you know it's coming, you see it's coming, and but it's not until it like happens that you're like, oh wow, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
um and so like already was in love with that story and the character of Prospero. Like I am fascinated by him in the stories. I thought the actor that played him did a really good part.
Hmm.
And so the mannequins behind me are his costumes.
Yeah. I was like, I gotta bring these up.
The red suit and the party suit above, it came with the suit. You can't see it, but above my computer is the folder that he flipped through and looked for the rave club, and then the phone that he used when like the water dripped down. And then I also love Carla Gugino. So also over on a little wall piece, one of the pieces I want was a few of the items she places on the headstones at the end.
Nice.
It's Prospero's mask, which is not the one he wore at the party. It was I've the mask from the end. Um, the tape recorder that Augie uses, the detective, when he's like interviewing him and then leaves it on the grave. There were two of them, and this is the one that he held in many scenes, and then like
Ooh,
was like, "I don't want your confession." What else? The cat collar that she leaves for Leo's character, and then that final glass that she sets on his Roderick's headstone.
amazing.
And when I got them, I handed it to my friend who directed Compression, and I mean, A, loves Flanagan, and B, like would marry Carla Gugino in a heartbeat if she
In a
asked.
heartbeat.
And I was like, here, hold this for a second. He's like, what is this? I'm like, oh, that's the glass Carla Gugino put on the headstone at the end of Fall of the House of Usher. And he was like, take it away from me. It's like, I've got my fingerprints on it now. I'm like, yeah, it was already cleaned before you got it. Everything was dry cleaned and spot cleaned, and like the tape recorder. But it's kind of cool because I can see how they rigged the tape recorder. It's a real tape recorder, but rigged it to where it has a cassette tape in it, but there's no like tape. So when you hit record, it'll light up and spin, but it's not actually spinning any tape. So it can
Interesting.
just do that indefinitely.
Yeah, just play
Yeah.
that for the whole. You don't even have to cut, turn that off. Like,
Yeah, but I didn't expect to win anything. I actually bid on other things. Like I bid on some of his, like, because I love cardigans, so I bid on like Roderick's like pajama cardigan look, and
nice.
a couple of his suits, and then those things like skyrocketed, and I had to drop out. And I learned that I'm competitive, or I'd forgotten that I'm competitive, and it
Uh-oh.
came down to these three items, and I was just like, I'm going to get this. And now I'm working extra jobs to pay on that credit card that I never
Ooh.
used. uh, I never used this credit card, but the money went towards an organization that is
Yeah,
working to try to end overdoses from opioids. And I did some research into it, and it's they help people get off of them, but also if you're going to use them in a controlled environment,
of
medical
course.
environment. Come here, come to us, so we make sure that you don't do it completely unsafely where you could die. And I thought that was such a cool thing. So the money went to something good. I just need to work some extra jobs. So,
That's so wonderful. Well, I'm sorry we didn't really talk much about like horror movies that you
oh,
like, other
I
than
know. I'm sorry. We just
yeah,
got
no,
off on so
it's
many tangents.
yeah, exactly. And believe me, I it's been so long since I've seen you and I've wanted to like talk so much. And so I really was like, I'll just let him talk about himself. Because again, I went into your IMDb and was like, yowza, this man's working hard. So I wanted to celebrate that specifically. Um, do you have anything that you want to promote specifically?
I mean, eventually it'll come out, but my film compression is going doing the film festival circuit, which is kind of what I mentioned in our email, but we never got to talk about it. Is we jokingly call it the unofficial queer horror film because everybody in it is there's either a character in it that is queer or as everybody in it in some form or another is. And
Nice.
so the director, who is not at all, was like, I didn't set out to do this, but like kind of cool that that worked out. And I'm like, yes, it is. Like we need more representation not just within the story, but also like within the cast too. And I think that's uh, something that I got excited about. But I have a podcast, kind of took a break, mental health break, but we've kind of written it into the story called the Ghostlight Experience on Spotify. That's, I won't go deep into it, but that's kind of me exploring my mental health through a character
Nice.
that is me. It's me, but it's a fictional version of me. So liberties can be taken, but like my
So yeah,
partner,
you can play a little bit.
yeah, my partner Joe and I sat down and like when we improvise like 90% of it, at least
Nice.
the dialogue between us. We have core story points that we need to hit on, but it's a lot of improvisation. And but we did sit down and I was like, hey, I want to explore this element of my mental health that might be triggering. We're going to need a trigger warning. Are you comfortable with me doing that? And he's like, I am, as long as you are, and it led to really good discussions. And
That's great.
yeah, but yeah, I have movies on Tubi.
Yeah.
And
You got movies. I mean, check the IMDb if you need to, because there's lots. And it was really easy for me to get places. All I had to do was literally search for them, and they were there. So, like there are ways to watch most of these films. But yeah, I look forward to watching Compression. And yeah, I know I've said it a bajillion times in this podcast, but Kevin, I think you are one of the greatest performers that I have come across in my world, in my life. I think you deserve only the best, and I love you, and that's it. Like,
I love you too. Let's see, we should have had this conversation like before the
whatever, I don't
podcast.
care. It's my fucking podcast. I get to cry on my own podcast.
That
It's my
makes me feel,
podcast, and I'll cry if I
yeah,
want to. No,
that's
you're so great. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of literally everything you've been able to do. Um, Please come up to Indy. I will bring my child down to you. We will explore Evansville because I've never been, and I would like to know this little beautiful gem, and all these wonderful people that you get to create with. So yeah, I hope to
oh,
see you soon, buddy.
no, no, I'd love to, absolutely.
All right, and that was the interview. And again, I say, if you want to come and talk to me about film, let's hop on a damn Zoom. I will talk to anybody. Like, let's party. If you think that you can talk ad nauseum about a film, please come hit me up. And with that, I'm going to say bye. Have a good day. Bye.